Hi, I'm Dr. Caitlin Keller with Unconstipated Kids, and we are going to help you and your child improve their bowel and bladder health. I want to talk a little bit about how pee exits our body and what the Detrusor Reflex is. And so in order to understand everything, you need to understand a little bit of the anatomy. And so within our pelvis, there is a group of muscles called the pelvic floor muscles. And those muscles contract during the day to keep us clean and dry, and relax to allow pee and poop to come out when we want them to. So the process of us relaxing initiates this cascade called the Detrusor Reflex, which allows our bladder to fully empty. So our bladder is an organ within our pelvis, and it's hollow, and it stores pee before it's ready to come out. And so the kidneys filter our blood, the kidneys produce urine, and the urine goes into the bladder, and the bladder holds the urine until we're ready to get it out. So the bladder itself is made up of muscle, and that muscle is called the detrusor muscle. And so the bladder is made up of a specific type of muscle similar to our heart. So our heart is a muscle, but we can't tell it when to contract or relax. It happens automatically because of the specific type of muscle that it is. The same thing is true of the bladder. We are unable to contract or relax our bladder. It only happens when our brain tells it to. So how does it get pee out of our body then? When we sit on the toilet, we relax our body and our pelvic floor musculature. Our brain then receives a signal that, hey, we've relaxed, we're sitting on the toilet, now's a good time to go. Our brain then tells our bladder to contract to evacuate all of the pee inside. So the brain is in charge of telling our bladder to relax. If our pelvic floor muscles don't relax, then our brain is a little bit confused and isn't really sure if it needs to contract the bladder or not. So when we're sitting on the toilet, one thing to really consider is if you or your child is pushing pee out to evacuate it from your body. What the act of pushing does is it tells your brain and bladder, hey, you don't have to do your job. We're going to do it instead. I'm going to push the pee out. You don't need to do your job. And that can be really confusing to the brain and the bladder. So the really challenging part is that pushing doesn't really evacuate all of the pee within your bladder. It's unable to get everything out. So as you or your child pushes to pee, and that becomes a really strong habit, there is urine retained in the bladder. And so this habit becomes more ingrained. You get a little bit more dysfunctional because you're really not fully emptying your bladder every time. So maybe you're noticing an increase of frequency, how often you're peeing. Maybe you're seeing some leakage after you go. And both of those things can be related to the push. The pushing of the pee tells your brain and bladder to stop doing its job. So the transition back into allowing your brain and bladder to do the job that it should in that cascade, the Detrusor Reflex, is really just sitting and relaxing to pee, opening up your pelvic floor and allowing the brain and bladder to do its job. Initially, as you transition away from pushing, it's going to be really challenging. You're going to want to push. You're going to feel like there's more pee inside. It's going to take a really long time to relax and stay relaxed to allow all of the pee out. It might be a while, okay, you sit and you get some pee out, but you still feel some pee in there. So you sit. You have to allow your brain and the bladder to have some time to figure out, oh, there's still more pee in here. Oh, I still need to contract the bladder, and allow the brain and bladder to do what it's supposed to do in that reflex loop. So one thing that you can do to help is diaphragmatic breathing, and that can help initiate that reflex loop again. So you stay relaxed, you stay on the toilet, you do some belly breathing, and that helps your brain and bladder to do what it should do to get the rest of the pee out that might be stuck in your bladder. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you can find us later and help other people find us too.